Hey guys, this is Jeff Stanek with Figured Out Baseball. Got a really good and interesting and unique Figured Out Baseball podcast for you today. Today on the podcast, we're being joined by Sam Gjormand. She is the baseball team manager for James Madison University, and I did say she. Obviously, you're probably looking at a graphic right now as well, but I thought it was really interesting what Sam has done and some things that she is trying to do, and thought she'd be an awesome guest for this podcast. James Madison is a Division I school in Harrisonburg, Virginia, where, again, she is one of the baseball team managers. 2021 will be her fourth season as the team manager, where she is currently the director of student managers. She's responsible with the team for on-field setup, assisting with video work, team organization, and on-field practices. She takes part in that as well. She was hired in January of 2020 for a summer job as the general manager assistant and MLB scout liaison with the Wareham Gateman Baseball. That's a team in the Cape Cod Baseball League. Now, she was hired in January of 2020 and has been working with them since then, even though they canceled their 2020 summer league. So she spent the summer of 2020 as the managing intern with the Northern Virginia College Baseball League, where she managed 45 game day operations interns. Just someone I think is very interesting in her path and what she wants to do. I thought would make a great podcast guest. So Sam, I really appreciate you joining us in the podcast.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. I'm happy to be on here, and I'm really looking forward to talking to you today. Love what you're doing with Figure It Out. So Thank you. And I don't know, if anything we would do would be relevant to what you're doing or not. Maybe it is with some on-field stuff that you're doing, but I thought it was important to have you on just because, as I told you before we started recording, I just like people that break down some barriers and that do some things that don't get done much or maybe have never been done before. And, I know that there might be some other female student managers across the country in college baseball, but I don't know that any of them have the ambitions that you do, and that's part of what why I wanted to bring you on. So why don't you just kind of take a chance to tell people exactly what you're doing right now with James Madison and maybe what you'd like to do after, what you'd like to pursue once you graduate. Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate you saying all that. But so my history with baseball has pretty much been since, I like to say, the day I was born. Like day 2 of my life, I was out at a high school game. My dad's a high school coach up in Northern Virginia, James Madison High School, and I was pretty much born onto the baseball field. I was out there as soon as I could walk. I was throwing a baseball, swinging a bat. I played Little League all the way up, and when I aged out of that, I was, trying to stay on the field as much as possible, helping coach where I could, just helping with the local travel leagues, the all-star leagues, everything I could just to be around the game at that age. And then when I got to high school, I did play softball for a couple years, but, didn't take much for me to realize that baseball just really was my passion, and I wanted to be a part of it however I could. And at that point in time, I didn't really know what that entailed for my future. I didn't really know if I would be able to pursue it at the next level, how I would be able to pursue it, but that's kind of when Coach Eikenberry came in and said, Sam, we have team managers. He's just taken a job at JMU, and if you want to come manage, come be a Duke, and you can come do that for us. So I ended up at JMU, and I'm really lucky that him and the other coaches on our staff have given me such a great opportunity to be a part of the program and be out on the field every day, learning something new from them, from the players, and just it's really going to project me and help me at the next level if I can secure a job there. So hopefully I would like to someday work in the baseball operations side of things with an MLB team, or I just want to be a part of the game. So anywhere I can get my foot in the door, I know that I'm going to be able to be successful and hopefully just keep pushing myself to that next step up wherever that takes me.
That is very cool. So with what you'd like to do next, do you think that you'd like to be involved in the front office type stuff somewhere with a baseball organization? Do you have aspirations someday, or do you think that would be you'd like to move into like a general manager type position, or do you want to stay kind of more behind the scenes in an organization? Have you thought that far ahead, or just kind of thinking about the next step?
Yeah, so I always like to say, people ask what I like to do, and I like to be the one that makes things happen. That's just the best way for me to put it. That's what I enjoy, just having a hand in, I definitely someday would like to end up in the front office. I think that would be awesome. But scouting interests me a lot. I'm just really interested in being a part of the day-to-day things that go into making a baseball team able to play. So wherever that takes me, I'm really excited about my opportunity with the Cape this summer. I think I'm going to learn a lot there as far as in my GM assistant role. I'm going to be able to go through the scouting school that our GM has built up for that program. So I'm really looking for that opportunity, or looking forward to that opportunity, just to be able to learn and take it all in, and hopefully, maybe figure out a little bit more of what exactly I want to do and where exactly I might fit into an organization someday.
That is so interesting. And I'm sure that that's not different than what a lot of people your age, feel like, whether it doesn't matter whether they're going to, baseball or some other job, or whether they're a male or a female. I mean, it's not expected that you know everything you're going to do or what you're going to do 15 years from now, but it's just a cool path and a great start. I'll be really interested to see, what happens when you graduate and who you might catch on with. So you're going to be working for the Wareham Gateman again this summer, 2021?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm heading up there. Well, hopefully in May. We're not sure when everything's going to get started yet, I don't think, but hopefully I'll be up there as soon as our JMU season ends, and I'm just ready to hit the ground running. I'm excited to learn from everybody that I'm going to be around, and, it's no different from my time here at JMU. I think I've really been lucky to have that unique perspective that not a lot of other people get, just being a part of the program every day and seeing what it takes to make a team successful and have the players buy in and just really have a good culture established that people want to be a part of a program and people want to win for a program.
Sam, maybe you can tell me if this is something that you want to talk about a lot, or maybe something you don't want to talk about at all, but being a female in an industry, in a sport that's dominated by men, I think just because that's who, primarily has, mostly guys are playing, guys are coaching, so that's who end up, in a lot of these positions. Now, being a female trying to get into this industry, and even in the college baseball world, you are probably one of the few females who's in a position that you're in right now. Do you think that there are extra hurdles for you to jump over, or do you think it almost gives you an advantage in a way because people are impressed that you've done what you've done and you're a female trying to make it in this industry? Maybe that gives you a little bit of momentum somewhere or another. I'd like to just kind of know your perspective, or if it's not something that you think of much, if you just consider yourself on an equal playing field with everybody else who's applying for these types of jobs that you'd like to get. Just would like to know what your opinion and your vantage point is.
Yeah, that's a great question. Honestly, I don't even really think about it. It's not something that, I carry with me every day, just because from such a young age, I've been the only female in these baseball organizations, from things that I've done with different all-star games that I've helped put together, or the league this last summer, I was the only female just around everything, and I don't really take notice of it until I'm looking around, in a team meeting or something, and, wow, I'm the only one here. But I don't really like to think of it as a hindrance or an advantage anyway. I think it's a reason for me to work twice as hard to prove myself, just as I think anybody else would. I think there's been so many great females, especially recently, that have broken into the MLB scene in places that women have never held positions before, and I think that's awesome to see, and that's really promising, at least for me, and just gives me that little extra hope. Just because I am a female doesn't mean I can't do this, and even if there's not a female doing something that I want to do someday, that doesn't mean I can't do it. So, like I said, I just think it gives me the motivation to work twice as hard and just prove myself, because if other people see it as a hindrance or an advantage, then I don't want it to be seen that way. Does that make sense?
It does, and I think, I respect it a lot, because I think surely there are going to be times when you put in an application and someone's going to look at it and they're not going to consider you when they realize that you're a female. I'm sure that'll happen at some point, but I I would hope that at another point, maybe you'll put in your application and someone would make sure that they gave you a look in an interview because you were a female and because of the things that you've done. And maybe you get in somewhere or at least get an interview that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise. I don't know, but I would hope that there's enough people out there that would be that way, that would at least give you a chance because they're interested and because they think, hey, this, she's obviously done a lot. She's worked very hard to be here, and I'm sure that your references are excellent, and maybe maybe you'll have an opportunity at least to interview for something because of that. Are there any of the women that are in professional baseball right now, in particular, that you maybe look to or follow on social media, or just anything else that kind of give you a little bit of motivation and give you, I guess, a little extra hope, or just someone that you think is a good role model for you trying to go along this path it's certainly not a path that's really well taken or well worn? Are there any of the women in baseball right now that you look to more than another?
Absolutely. I mean, a couple come to mind immediately. And, I mean, even touching back to your last question, I think Rachel Balkovec with the Yankees, her story just about applying to jobs and everything is so incredible because she submitted, like, hundreds of resumes, and with Rachel, no one would even give her a second look. So I think she changed her name to Ray on all her forms and everything, and within hours she had a bunch of calls, with interest in her. Another one, obviously Kim Ng of recent, she just is incredible at what she does, and the fact that it's taken, I think, what was it, like 8 or 10 years for her to finally move up into that GM position just says a lot. But she, I think, has worked her butt off. She earned that position, and I'm excited to see her in that role and how she's going to be as successful as I know she will be.
Yeah, she's a great story too, and I know that people in the baseball world, you kind of heard her name for several years. This is Kim Ng. You kind of heard her name for several years in other GM jobs that came open, and it was great to see her get something. And the Rachel Balkovec story, I'd heard that as well. She changed her name on applications and finally got some interviews. And I wonder if that'll happen with you at some point for putting Sam on your resume. If at some point you'll get a call and someone will be surprised that they're talking with a female. Instead of
you'd be surprised. That's actually happened more than you think, because I use Sam for everything. I don't really use Samantha. So I'll be texting like prospective players for something, and everything, thank you, sir, yes, sir. I just laugh. Like, maybe someday it won't be that way.
Sam, what do you think makes you stand out? Just say, for example, that you've got an uphill battle to fight when you start submitting resumes, or even say that you're on a similar plane with everybody else. Maybe, again, when you just submit a resume, people see Sam and they're not thinking of that you're a female. They're just looking at a resume and they're comparing other resumes. What about your resume or what you've done or about your personality is going to stand out and help you be successful in this industry?
I like to say that I'm a pretty dynamic person. I have just I've been lucky enough to gain experience in a lot of different areas of the game, and I think that's going to help me in the long run. From my time with my dad's team in high school, just kind of helping out with all of the administrative stuff where I could there, and then, going out to the field and catching up fungos if I could. And then at JMU, I make sure that the field's set up every day. So just being able to communicate with the coaches and then back to the other managers for the coaches' needs, and then helping out throughout practice wherever I can with whatever they need, and just being able to flip on a dime and handle those tight situations. I mean, those pop up all the time, and I think I've been really lucky to be able to kind of work on my skills as far as that goes, just being able to have adjustability when things might get tough. And I think that I've really learned a lot about myself in that aspect this past summer with the NBCL. I was lucky enough, Coach Rob Haney and the other guys who put that league together really gave me a lot of responsibility when it came to kind of making the league happen. I worked with them in preparation, and then Coach Haney ended up coaching in the league, so he gave me a lot of responsibility when it came to the game day ops for that month-long league, and I was, putting out the little fires and dealing with the coaches and helping with the player management and just doing what I could there. So that experience absolutely gave me a unique perspective, and I think a lot goes to say for that as well. Like when the Cape got canceled, it was, what am I going to do? Like, this is a big summer for me. I got to do something, and that league popped up, and I'm so lucky because that helped me in so many ways that it's really hard to just put into words how much I learned about myself, about the game, about where I want to go next in my career. And then my time at JMU, I've mentioned a couple times just the responsibility that they've given me, and I'm so grateful for that. Just being able to oversee some of our other managers in the program and just being able to create that tight relationship with the coaches. And I know that they're always going to help me if I need to do something better, or if, they think something's going to help me in the long run. Like, I'm always open to listening to them and being able to adjust and do that. I'm trying to think. I always like to say I love to learn, and so any opportunity that is new or like an experience that might be new for me, I just love to do that. I consider myself an avid learner, and I just know that I'm going to be successful with whatever I do because I have the work ethic to be able to pick up something and learn and want to learn it and like have the need to be successful at it.
In the Northern Virginia Collegiate Baseball League from this past summer, like, what were some of the things that you did that I guess were maybe some of your favorite things, some of the most fun things you did, or the things that kind of gave you the most joy to be able to, to accomplish it, so that maybe at the end of it you thought, like, this might be something I'd like to do, beyond college, after I'm done here, professionally with a professional organization or wherever you can catch on. Was there anything in particular, or just is it like the sum total of everything that you did?
Honestly, so much went into it, and obviously I enjoyed the baseball operation side of it more than the behind the scenes. I was taking pictures, doing the media and stuff, handling that whole side of it because we didn't have that. It was our inaugural season, so we didn't really have much built up there yet. I just really loved, in a time where everything was so uncertain. I mean, we've heard it a million times, but really, nobody really had anything to look forward to. We were kind of living in this monotonous cycle of COVID, and being able to put the league on and just give the fans and give the players something to look forward to and something to be excited about, I think was just so awesome. The feedback we got about what the league did for the community was just enough to hear about how successful we thought we were being in itself. I had a ton of fun being able to put on we had a league-wide scout day, and I was able to communicate with some of the scouts that were coming out to the games and kind of just really build relationships with a lot of the players that I probably never would have gotten to meet had last summer not happened. And, in a normal year, they probably wouldn't have been playing at the Northern Virginia College League, and a lot of those guys have such bright futures ahead of them. I was just lucky to have been able to, learn and put on that league for them and help out with all that. And like I said, they gave me so much responsibility, and I'm so gracious for that because that's just going to help me in the long run. I absolutely know it will.
And that was a pop-up league, right? That was a league that just basically was created last year, was it not?
Yeah, so it was in the works. We were talking about kind of starting a small league for some of the, the smaller D3 guys and the, smaller D1 guys who might not get the opportunity to go play in the CPL or in the Cape or in a big league. So we were kind of toying with the opportunity of doing that, and then, when COVID hit and everything went down, we said, we got to do this. We got to find a way to put it together and make sure that these guys have somewhere to play. And what we thought was going to be a 14 league turned into an 18 league, and we had a lot of really good reception from the college coaches in the area who were kind of being called in to collaborate about what the league needed to look like and what it needed to entail to be able to benefit the players just as much as, the college programs they were going to be going back to. So we were able to put it together, and we had a really successful inaugural season, and I think they're going to continue it into this summer and hopefully a lot of summers to come.
That is really cool. Now, how did the players interact with you or just relate to you, I guess? You can talk about either your experience in summer ball or your experience at James Madison, whichever you want, or both. But, how did the players and even the coaches, when you first showed up to James Madison, especially, obviously maybe in year 4, it's different because I think just like anything else, when you're around for a while, people get used to things and it becomes kind of the norm. But when you first got to James Madison or when you get to these summer teams, how do the coaches and the players respond and relate to you when they first meet you and maybe for the first time realize that you're a female? How has that experience been for you? Do you feel like you get any more or less respect or different treatment or anything else? I'm just curious of how the players, especially the players and the coaches, relate to you.
Mm-hmm. So, the first time's always funny. You never get anything bad, or I've never had a bad experience. But the first time, showing my face or meeting these people is always funny because it's always, well, who is she? Well, oh, that's Sam. She's been the one that I've been doing all the behind the scenes stuff with. That's Sam, whatever. But my work, as I work and prove my work ethic, and I think, the teenage boys at first, they're going to be skeptical. They don't know what you do or what's going on, but they pick up on that stuff, So if I show that I'm there for the same reasons they are, and that's to win and to be successful, then yeah, they're going to accept me pretty well. And it's just I've become one of the guys. I'm one of them, and they know that I'll do anything for them. And same goes for the coaches. It just was a matter of proving myself and just showing my work ethic that I'm capable of doing all these things. I'm capable of going out and setting up the field every day. And they knew that, but I think I just had to prove that I did want to be out on the field every day, especially at JMU, that I did want to be out there. I did want to be a part of it. I want to go to Omaha just as much as you guys do. And I think that's just really done a lot for me, just my work ethic and proving that, I do want to be a part of this, and I'm all in.
That's awesome, and that's how you would expect the players to act. But you never know. Especially with some coaches, you don't know if coaches or players are just going to look at you a little bit differently or treat you a little bit differently just because maybe they obviously know you didn't play baseball, especially at a high level. You played maybe when you were younger or anything. You never know how people are going to react to that, and it's good to see that you haven't had to deal with anything too crazy there. Sam, who's been the biggest influence for you, or at least maybe the biggest supporter for you? Because I'm sure that this hasn't been, the easiest path all along, and I'm sure that there are times when you are maybe frustrated or have difficult times or whatever. Who do you have in your life that is a great influence to you, or someone that you can kind of lean on when things get tough for you?
Yeah, so a couple people come to mind immediately. First, my dad. I'm just very lucky that he's been able to help me as much as he has. He's got a lot of great connections in the baseball world, and he's, even just from a young age, building my baseball IQ, I think has helped me so much. Just, teaching me stuff behind the scenes, just as far as the game itself goes. But then, to where I am now, and just the connections that he has that I've been able to use to kind of keep propelling myself further in the game has just helped immensely. And he's given me so many just great opportunities as far as putting on, all-star events for him, or going and running these tournaments, going and just running tryouts for his travel teams. Just any little bit of experience that I could get, he was always the one kind of throwing me into that and allowing me to do my thing and be successful in those things. And then another one here at JMU, all the coaches have just been so great. They would do anything for me. But one that sticks out is our director of baseball ops, Stephen Nagy. He was a student manager with me and was able to work his way up to the director of ops position, and do a little bit more on the analytics side for us as a program. But I always remember, I think it was my sophomore year, he kind of brought me in one day and was like, Sam, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go after college? Because, you can do this. And he was kind of the first person that made me realize, wow, I don't really want to give up baseball. I guess I can do this as a real job. And I can move on. And that he's the one that set me up with the CAPE, and from there, just one thing keeps turning into another, and like he just really believed in me, and I think that said a lot about, you know, me being able to realize, like, all right, I can do this, I want to do this. If he believes in me, then why can't I go do it? You know what I mean?
That is really cool, and I don't care who you are or what you're trying to do with your career. It's always great to have somebody that's going to back you, that's going to be supportive of you, because, you know, again, it doesn't matter who you are or what you're trying to do with your life. If you're trying to, I think especially if you're trying to, you know, become more than just what's in front of you. You know, you want to kind of step out and do something unique, or make take a big step, maybe quit a job that you're in and try something different, or start in an industry where maybe you don't have as much background as maybe you should, but it's something you're passionate about. Anytime, or you start a new business, whatever it is, there are going to be certainly times that are easier than others, and times when you're going to have some self-doubt, or something won't work out, and you'll be down a little bit, and you need, I think all of us need someone to pick us up in those times. And it's awesome that you've got a couple of people there, and hopefully you continue to find more people along the way that will continue to give you that confidence, give you a little bit of boost when you need one. Do you have any interest in the analytics side of things? Have you done anything like that at JMU? I don't know how much analytic work there is there, but is that something you're interested in, or you'd rather stay away from that side?
Yeah, so I'm in no means is it my strong suit, but I'm absolutely interested in it. We're lucky enough that Steve was kind of building up a analytics program before he graduated last year, and the guy who kind of took over a lot of Steve's responsibilities after he graduated, and myself, we were able to continue on with that analytics team and hire some new faces this year to try to build it up for when we're gone. So I love learning about that stuff. I love just kind of seeing how the numbers play into everything. I don't necessarily do that well yet, but it's something I'm learning, because I know that the next, wherever I end up, that's going to be helpful, at least just having a little bit of background knowledge on that type of thing. And who knows, maybe someday I'll be able to do more with it, and hopefully, I mean, that's the goal, I guess, is just to keep learning until I can help out more and more and put that into my everyday thing that I can say I do really well. But honestly, I just like learning about it. I'm not too deep into it, but I think it's really interesting, and I've got great analytics people around me who are always willing to help me learn and try to teach me new things about that.
It certainly doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt to have that knowledge and that background. Have you, and that just kind of made me think of something. I know that you had said that you're interested in pursuing a career in professional baseball, but do you have any interest in maybe staying in college baseball as like a director of baseball operations, or something that some of those guys maybe still have some on-field responsibilities, but in a lot of cases it's a lot of things off the field, whether it's scouting or analytics, or sometimes there are guys that are called like director of player development, director of pitching development. Do you have any interest in any of those types of jobs, or do you think that the jobs that exist in pro baseball kind of fit what you're looking for a little better?
No, I've absolutely thought about that as the next step, and I think I'm not opposed to it. If I were to find the right school to be able to go and do something like that, and try to put a analytics team together, or student group together to try to help the team, I would definitely be open to it. It's just not something I thought about as much, but it's definitely crossed my mind as a possibility.
And the thing about those positions, just from what I know of them, is it seems like every school treats them a little bit differently, and there aren't that many places in the country that have those jobs. For the most part, it's Power 5 schools, or the schools that are sort of on the upper echelon of what you would call a mid-major. Those are the only schools that really have those jobs, especially full-time jobs. But I think they're interesting jobs for sure. And again, every school does a little bit. Seems like they do a little bit something different with those jobs. So I don't know, just a curious question that I had.
No, it definitely varies from school to school, from what I've learned.
So with what you do at James Madison right now, Sam, what exactly does it mean to be the director of student managers?
So as I mentioned, myself and Cam McKay, our new head of analytics, we put together, in the fall, we did a little bit of an interview process with students in the school who were interested in helping us out. With COVID and everything and not being able to get our additional support staff out to the field as much as we would like to, we figured, let's get these kids better how we can, so that, when we can get them out to the field, we will be able to. So we went and hired, I think, 14 new analytics team members and student managers who will hopefully be able to come out and help us in the future. But throughout the fall, we held Zoom meetings twice a week to just kind of teach them, the ropes about the program, but then also having them doing projects and teaching the rest of the team members about, stuff that they were learning in their weekly projects, such as, one of our team members presented on the 2080 scale last week as we were prepping for advanced reports and getting everybody helping out with all of that. So just being the director of student managers, we do have a couple of on-field student managers that we've been lucky enough to have out this past fall and spring. And I just am kind of the liaison between the coaches and those other student managers, just making sure that they know what we need to get set up for practice every day and what is going to be needed based on the practice plan, and just kind of making sure everybody's in line and overseeing the other student managers and making sure they're going to have all the tools that they need for, when I leave next year and they kind of get to take the reins.
Very cool. This is Sam Gjormand, everybody. She's the baseball team manager at James Madison University. She is the director of student managers, overseeing the other managers there, and working in the Cape Cod League this summer with the Wareham Gateman baseball team. Just such a cool story, and Sam, I'm so glad that you took a chance to join us on the podcast today. I know that the team is leaving tomorrow for the first weekend this spring, but I appreciate the time today, and would love to kind of follow you and maybe have you on here again, maybe in a year or two when you're working in a major league organization. We can have you on again and just kind of follow your career. But it's so cool, Sam, what you're doing now, and I think anytime someone's in your position doing things that don't normally get done by certain types of people, or kind of breaking down barriers. As I said, I like to talk to those people and kind of get their stories and their backgrounds